here is not to waste too much of it, so I don't want to chop out too much. So the actual technique for squaring the timber, for cutting it out from the side. So now I've got a line all the way down here, and I'm now going to have to cut this flat. So what I do is I cut in incisions. So I cut a wedge. So I go like that, and then like that. One to the left, and then one to the right. And just keep doing that all the way down. I'll just show you the effect. Okay, so I've been cutting like this, the length of the timber, and that brightens it more or less flat. I chop out the excess at the end, clear it up, and then I'll have a nice flat edge down one side of the log. There we go. So now that I've cut and made these sort of wedge cuts all the way down, I'm now cutting out the excess. So I've got my straight line here. You can see several traces of the straight line there, the line that I traced earlier. So now I'm just going to cut down. Prefer to do this sort of over the shoulder, looking down the timber, or just above my head. I just go like that with the axe all the way down, flattening as I go. Also make shortcuts, short swings with the axe. Keep it under control. You don't want to be over swinging and then strike down into your leg. It's the last thing you want to do. I've squared the timber. This is now square. So it's flat on all four sides, more or less. I've just popped a nail in the end here to find the center point there. And I'm just going to loop my cord over, measure the full length of the Sudis, of the stake, pinch that end. I'm going to bring it back and find out where the join the 2 points up. There we go, like so. I'm going to find out where our middle is. So it's there. Okay, so just loop the cord back on itself to find the middle of the stake. That's done. There we go. So the middle is there. I've traced that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to find the middle of this half. Same principle again. Using a cord, I'll just hold it on there and loop it over the nail. I've got the end there. Loop this back, pinch it. Okay. Place it on the Sudis and draw another line. So I've now found the halfway point of that. Okay, so half the Sudis and then another, and then the half of that again. Okay, so now we have a point from where I can do the taper. Now the reason for doing this is because I want to maintain the body of the Sudis strong. I want this to be strong. I'm worried that if I taper it here from the medial hand grip immediately all the way down, that will weaken it and it will be too narrow at the tip. So to give it a bit more, make it a bit more robust, I'm halving that. The hand grip will still go here in the middle where my hand is, like so, and then the Sudis will the body of the Sudis will start from here. So that's the rationale for doing that, just to maintain a bit of structural integrity. I've looked at different models and it looks to be that way. It looks like the taper's only sort of cut towards the end and it doesn't start to taper from the hand grip down, depending on the examples that you look at. Okay, so I've marked this from here, tapered it down to a point there, a rough point, and the same on the opposite side here. So now I'm going to cut the excess away. get it down to a point, blunt point, and make it sharp before battle. It's very fibrous, I've noticed as I've been working it. I've not worked lime wood before. Apparently it's very good for turning on a pole lathe. And anyway, so small cuts, same again here. There we go. So that's our first point. You see, and then I will repeat that process at the other end, and then flip it onto this side, and then taper this down also. So there we go. I've tapered both ends. These are the first sort of two cuts. So as both ends are now tapered, as you can see, this one's got a bit of a twist in it, but that adds to the character. There we go. So two tapers at either end of the pole. Now I'm going to flip it onto this side, and again I'm going to trace the same lines and cut the taper there. This time I'm going to try and do it by eye. Speed up the process. So we'll take it from there. I've got my midway point, which is roughly here, and I'm going to cut from there down in the taper. So I've achieved what I wanted, two pointy bits at each end. Now I have to make the fun bit, which is the medial, the middle grip. So place my hand on that, look at that either side, and then draw a line. So if I'm holding it like that, I'll be roughly here and here, a bit of wiggle room either side so I can hold it. And then I'll just bring those lines all the way around by eye. I think the assumption is, my assumption is that this would have been done by eye. If you were trained to build these from the start, you probably got very good at this very quickly. You didn't need pencils, and probably you could do it from an axe, just with an axe, and very little else. Here we go. So I've drawn the. So the grip's going to be set into here. Now, what I'm going to do is use a saw to cut down to the depth of the saw blade, all the way round. Then once I've done that, I'll make several cuts, I'll remove all the excess, and we'll end up with a grip. So I'll demonstrate that, I'll start cutting and then show you the result. I have made lots of cuts to the depth of the saw blade, all along where I'm going to have the grip. And now what I'm going to do is just move the saw first. But now I'm just going to cut down where those cuts end and just chop this out. Could do it with a chisel. I'm trying to do it with the axe as much as possible. There we go. And just cuts out the excess. How does that go? Not great. So we'll probably do we'll do it with a chisel. We'll finish it with a chisel. So there we have it, Sudis with a square grip. So we've made the square grip. We've cut that down. We've cut out all the excess. End up with a nice square grip. Not very comfortable to carry, so we're going to round it. How are we going to do that? It's quite straightforward, easier than you would imagine. Just using the axe, not using the saw this time. Just cutting making little cuts on the angle. There we are, just on the edge. And do that all the way around. So it takes the sharp edge off the corners of the handles. Just letting the weight of the axe do the cutting for me. Just bouncing it up and down there. There we go. So there I've made incisions, and now all I have to do is cut the excess off with either a chisel or even the axe again. There we go. Shaving it. And the final cut. And then you just clean it up. Points off here and there. But there you go. One Sudis with a medial grip, more or less. Comfortable. Just needs cleaning up. When you're ready for battle, sharpen off the ends. Here I'm leaving them blunt, obviously. I don't want to poke anybody's eyes out or injure anybody. So there we go. That is a Sudis.